I teach at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, and I just give a small overview of who I am. So apart from what Patrick has said, my research focus is on indigenous knowledge systems, though I'm in the field of psychology, counseling psychology, but I'm focusing on indigenous knowledge systems. And I play several roles in different organizations. Currently, I'm the head of department in the Department of Counseling Psychology from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, the ISSBD e-newsletter, and I also serve on the Governing Council for Society for Research in Child Development, and I'm the African Regional Representative for European Association of Personality Psychology. So I've also shared there one of my latest publications in the field of cross-cultural research. It's an open access book. So after the presentation, when the slides are shared, we can be able to get a copy and look at that. And so this morning or evening or night, depending on where you are, we want to answer this central question in this presentation. And the question we have is, how can scholars translate academic expertise into consulting, advisory, and applied roles beyond the university? And when we look at this, when I got the topic, I looked at it from first a problematic perspective. And the question I asked myself is, when you see the topic about sharing beyond academia, it would also imply that people are chained within the academia, that we go to universities, get our PhDs, and become researchers and remain in the universities and exit the university back to the community when we have not served the community maybe in any way. That's the problem that I conceptualized when I looked at the topic of today. And so the question we want to go through my first few slides is to understand this problem. Yes, we are telling you that or sharing about how do we extend our work beyond the academy. But the question is, for me to know how I want to extend my work beyond the academy, then I first need to know what could be chaining me as a scholar in the academy. And that's what I want to explore first. And I want you to look at this first area that I looked at that chains researchers to the academy. I've looked at the university as a fortified place, a place that is enclosed in walls, a place that is protected. And as we can see from the background, it's like the community is yearning to access the university, not for studies, but for interaction. But the universities are always locked. They are locked out. They lock out people. They lock out the community. So it's like a university is a place where researchers stay, but they are detached from the community. That's mostly when you look around the world, that's how the university is presented. It is I looked at universities and the academy or academic space acting like a secret society. There are things that happen with the university that possibly the community should not know. That's why we would find walls and policemen at gates. But I want us also to see beyond just the physical gates. The way the universities are fortified, we also seem to have mental fortification. When we're within the universities, we are not like open to interacting with people outside. We are within the university every day, delivering our academic work. And this is one of the chains that blocks people from growing and from sharing their expertise outside the university. The universities purport to create knowledge away from the community. So when I look at the structure of the academy right now, it's like we the researchers, we create research within the universities, and then we send it to the communities. We don't interact. The knowledge is supposed to trickle down from the university to the community. That is the power structure that exists. And what impact does this have? This model of a fortified university, it keeps researchers detached and irrelevant to the community. So you find we are highly educated, we are researching, we are doing many things that would actually be changers of the community. But because we don't reach that community, then we are irrelevant, we remain irrelevant. And as I go through this, reflect on your universities. We have many people coming from different universities. Reflect on your universities and begin to check, does your environment meet some of these traits that I'm sharing here? The other thing I want us to focus on is the silo specialization. The silo, I got this representation of the silo. We know the silos that we use to store grains. So in our trainings, we seem to be training specialists in specific fields. And the sad thing is these specialists do not know anything outside their field. So you find if we are psychologists, we only understand the world from the psychological mindset. Computer scientists operate in their own space. Media people operate in their own space. Anthropologists operate in their own space. And that's what I'm calling the silo specialization. So we have highly trained researchers, but they don't know anything beyond their own discipline. And so we see academics who remain tightly caged. We are caged. Remember the earlier part I'm asking about what chains us to the academia. And so we are finding as academics, we are chained and caged in our different disciplines. So knowledgeable, but caged. We are not interacting with any other discipline. Now, when we are caged like this, it leads to narrow conceptualization of community and industry problems. Because I'm a psychologist, I tend to understand the world from a psychological lens only. And maybe there is an anthropologist who would add to widening my understanding of the world. But because I'm trained and socialized to stay in my discipline, then I remain a very narrow-minded scholar. And so what does silo specialization do? It keeps scholars' ability to diversify very low. It's very difficult to diversify. As we go along, we'll see how opening interdisciplinary work can really spur our ability to diversify our knowledge and even apply it in different settings. But the fact that we are specialized, this in itself keeps us low in terms of diversification of our work. And the next thing I look at is what I call the graveyard library. The graveyard library. Now, I view the libraries and repositories in our different institutions or in the different fields of academia as sources of knowledge, but also cemeteries of ideas. That's what chains scholars. And all of you know the common phrase, we are always told, publish or perish. But today I wanted you to reflect on publish and perish. So we always told, you need to publish so that you keep alive. You keep alive in the field of academia. But the fact is, if you are publishing and the work only lands in articles and then lands to the library, and nothing happens with this research to the community, that is now what I'm referring to as publish and perish. Because you publish, your work remains there, it helps no one. So you're actually publishing and perishing because you are not changing community. So ideas perish in the libraries, not having solved any problem for humanity. Where I come from in Kenya, people always ask, like, why is the government not implementing the research that we are doing? And they say research is rotting in the libraries. True, ideas are dying and rotting in the library. And because of what? It is because of the researcher. So in the libraries, it is a place full of so many ideas, so many revolutionary ideas that will change humanity. But because we have not been socialized to think beyond the library. So that that idea remains locked in the book. Maybe a few people will read and quote it in their own work. Students will read and quote it and write term papers. And so it keeps circulating within documents, but it doesn't change anyone's life. And that's why I look at the library as a cemetery, but though we look at it differently later on in my presentation. So the library or journals should not be the destination of research work. But unfortunately, that is what is happening at the moment. Every research that we've done, it lands in the library and it stays there. And at this part of my presentation, I want to engage a bit. I want to stop and engage a bit. And this is the part I want to reflect on, and maybe I will get any response from the audience. And I wanted you to reflect if you have done a dissertation or a thesis or doing a research. But I want us to focus a bit on your dissertation or thesis. How has your dissertation or current life changed human life? So, and I'm going to open a bit. Yes, I want the session to be interactive. Before I go to the next presentation, is just checking with you, is there anyone who translated their dissertation, the one you did at PhD or master's level? Is there anyone who can share an experience where that research has landed, has gone beyond the library, and it is helping someone in the community? Let me see if there is anyone. You can unmute and share, or you can raise your hand and share.
There is a hand from Clarice. Perhaps Clarice could go first.
Yeah.
Yes, Clarice.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Stephen. So actually, I was so shocked because I used to do a kind of research on bilingual education with Dr. Yasinska Kaya. And so it was a big program actually in Côte d'Ivoire. We realized that the children actually, when they start the school, they used to learn in French, which is indeed not their own mother tongue. So they were struggling with this kind of idea that they have to learn in another language. So the government, the Ivorian government, tried in 2000 to introduce the local languages. So it was 10 languages which were designed to do a kind of introduction with learning first with the mother tongue and then continue with French. But suddenly it became like the new government refused the idea to do so. So now it's only one language, which is Dula. And for me, it's a bit a shame because I tried to do a kind of research with the ISSBD as the ISSBD developing country fellow. And it was so sad that after all my research, all my efforts, they just tell to the teachers, Dr. Hager must not do this research or this inquiry in those schools. Why? I don't know. Until now, I don't know why. What was the reason? But it's a bit, for me, it's like I done my research for nothing, actually.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I think I'll take it as a discussion point when we get to the question time. I think we are so many scholars here because I see the roadblock you are saying. You you really intended to have this research reach the community, but then
Yes.
for political reasons, it is stopped. So we'll be engaging scholars here to see how can we help her to navigate around this, because I don't think that it is all lost. I'll
Thank
also
you so
open to, yes, I'll open to one more person, any person who has translated their research from dissertation to the community, we can share. So, Patrick, there is no hand. Okay. Yes, that's fine. So I know we are reflecting wherever we are. If we've not been able to translate our dissertation, and this describes to you what I'm calling the library as a graveyard. Because when you reflect on what you did in your dissertation, there must be someone who can benefit from it. But when we reflect and realize our education system did not prepare us to go beyond the library, it's like we were told when the research reaches the library, then you are okay, you are immortal. But today we are saying in the library, it is a deathbed for ideas. And I want to get to the next part. I'm still answering the central question that I began with, that what is chaining academics to the academy? What is chaining you and me to the academy? Because the purpose of this webinar is to help us to understand how can we translate our research into consultancies, advisories, and policy. So the last point that I'm looking at under that to answer that question is the terminal research. And I want you to remember this statement. Those of you who come from universities that do bound dissertations, we bind dissertations, you can go to your thesis or your dissertation, you'll always find a statement related to what I'm presenting here. You read that statement, it tells you a dissertation submitted to the University X as partial fulfillment for the award of a Doctor of Philosophy in whatever field that you are looking at. So when I used to analyze this statement, I look at it like it prepares researchers to finish research and in exchange receive your master's or receive your doctoral degree. Once that exchange is done, you do nothing with it. The research was just part to help you to attain partial fulfillment. That's what it's saying there. And nobody, possibly in our graduate training, pushed us to know that research in itself can be a continuous journey. It can be a career in itself. It can be a practice in itself. We always were presented with research as just something that we need to do to get doctoral degree or the master's degree. So once we get it, then we have terminated. Nobody, and we have so many academics of that nature, and we are looking at how does this chain you in the academy. So when research is looked at as a requirement for graduation, is actually a requirement. It is a compulsory thing for graduation. It makes it like you have to do it. You have no choice. You have to do it. It is, and this creates a cycle, because then once you, as an academic, once you finish your research, you get your degree. In exchange, you are hired. You start teaching in the university. So how does your life look like in the university or in the academy? You start the semester. They allocate units to you, or you have units allocated or courses allocated to you for teaching. Then you teach that semester. When you teach, there is a point in your teaching that you will set exams, and then you moderate those exams. Then you teach again. Then end of the semester, they do those exams. After those exams, you mark, you moderate, you give grades. The semester closes. The next semester, this is a cycle now. The next semester, you go back, allocate courses, set exams, moderate, teach. End of semester, do the exam, moderate results, give students. Now, so many academics are trapped in that cycle, a very dangerous cycle, because to them, they are not even researching. And so they are not even concerned with engaging anywhere with the community. They engage only with the community that's within the university, teaching, grading, releasing results, teaching, grading, releasing results. And what happens? This academic will remain chained in the academy forever. That is a serious part of this. Because they are not engaging anywhere with the community, they remain, they teach, grade, finish until retirement. And as you reflect on the 4 areas that I've looked at, you want to start to check yourself, like, where are you chained? And as I talk, I'm also asking myself, where am I chained? Because for you not to be presenting or extending your research to the community, there is one of these things that I've talked about that is chaining you. And now, having understood the problem, then we need to go beyond and then see how do we emancipate ourselves from the chains that we are talking about. And I want to begin to look at how do we get away from the academy, because it seems it is the part that has trapped us. The academy is where we are trapped, and we are not able to function or to give our research back to the community. And I want you to look at the picture that I've shared there, and forward your life a bit very fast. I want you to forward your life up to retirement. When you retire, because retirement is coming, even if you have started your PhD today, retirement is coming. Retirement will take you back to the community. You'll never live in the academy that is fortified, the one that has built walls for us that we don't engage the community. That academy will not be there forever. There is a time we will exit the academy, and now you'll exit the academy to the community that you already neglected. Because if we are not putting our research and engaging the community through advocacy, advisory, we have neglected our community. Now the community is on its own. We are in ivory towers in the academy. When the time for retirement will come, you'll be retiring back to that community. And we will expect the community to be very kind. But I can assure you, if you never were engaging with the community, it kind of tends to be very hostile to you. They will not fight you, but you'll find they are also detached from you. So you are a retired professor, very senior. I had many publications, but you're in the community. There is nothing else you are contributing. You sit and wait. And that kind of detachment. But I've been in different parts of the world. I've seen people even after retire, they are 80, 90, and they are engaging. The community needs them. They are making their living from the community. They are changing lives in the community beyond the academia. So what awaits us if we don't start to translate our research and form consistent and long-term relationship with the community, what awaits us is what you are seeing on that picture, that at some point the community will be very repulsive of us because we never engaged them when we were in the academy. And so what is the way forward? I want to give a small, like a short roadmap to how to emancipate. How do we get out of the academy? And these are the proposed ways that I'm going to tackle in the next few minutes. We talked about silos as areas of specialization. We are not engaging with different disciplines. So I'm going to look at a skill called silo busting. I'm going to look at breaking institutional walls so that we free ourselves from the fortified university. I'm going to look at communicating research beyond the journals, because we've seen research only ends in the library, and no member of the community is allowed in the university even to go to that library. So we want to look at how do we translate our research from the library. Are there other ways that we can communicate research? I'll look at starting with the immediate neighbor. Of course, we may be looking at where is the community. The community is the immediate neighbor. If you are in a university, if you jump that wall that I've shown you, where you fall, that's the community for you. So is there something you can do to start changing that community? I will look at self-branding. How do you brand yourself to be noticed by policymakers and different stakeholders in the community? And then I will look at how to set up consultancy. That's the next part that I want us to engage with. And allow me to start by silo busting. When we talk about silo busting, this is a technique or a way of starting to break from your discipline and collaborate across other disciplines. So we've seen psychologists remaining on their own, media people remaining on their own in their own silo, but we are saying to make impact in the society, you need to learn to start reaching across. It's good as psychologists, just go and reach a historian and begin to see, is there any research you can do together with historians? Or is there a kind of a project you can do with historians? Can historians inform your thinking? Or can you also inform the historians' way of thinking? As we notice, societal problems are not compartmentalized into disciplines. It is us professionals who compartmentalize. I am from the mental health field in psychology. When someone has a disorder or a pathology, they even don't know it is psychological. They know it's a pathology. It is us professionals who sit down and say, we are psychiatrists, so we are going to check this. This is a medical problem. The psychologists will look at the cognitive processes. When I look at the anthropologists, they are going to think this is a cultural problem. So when I look at the law, they will say this is a legal problem. As long as we are thinking that way, and each person is thinking that way, we are never having enough things to take us to the community. The space is already saturated. But if, as a researcher, I can desaturate my space by trying to make my way to maybe computer science and starting to see, is there any support I can give a computer scientist? Say, computer scientists can develop an app. As psychologists, we don't have that technicality of developing apps, but I can load my skills of psychology to that app. And together now we have a solution that is going to the community. So you can find, in a way where I would not have reached the community alone, and the computer scientist would not have reached the community alone, then we realize, for me, the psychologist, I can detect the mental health problem in the community, but I don't know how to reach the whole world at once. The computer scientist can tell me now we can do an app, and this app can circulate the internet, and I can be able to reach the whole world. So our collaboration now gives life to what I had. The place I thought I was stuck now, the collaboration with other people can actually make me reach the world. And there's this example that I want you to look at. This is an example from Kenya. Those of you who are coming from Kenya and other countries, you can try to identify with this. Most radio stations today and TV stations, they are not employing people who are trained in that field. Radio stations are actually employing comedians and not journalists. But we are people, we still train journalists. We train, they go to school, they have every skill that is needed for broadcasting and doing radio work. But when they go for jobs, the radios will tend to prefer comedians, or the radios will still hire them both, but comedians are being paid more. And I was trying to check, like, why is a comedian being paid more? Do you see, this is someone who has just broken off from his discipline and is moving to another discipline and making a very big inroad there, actually by even crushing the owners of that discipline. And so I'm challenging every scholar who is here that your discipline is congested. Please look at how your discipline can be a solution to the other disciplines. That will help you a lot to start making consultancies and pushing your practice to the people. So I look at this. Of course, when you still analyze that question of the radio stations hiring comedians, so I find radio stations want comedians because comedians, they come with their listeners. It's someone who already has a following. and the radio stations are looking for listeners. So they are picking the comedian because the comedian is coming with listeners. Who are listeners? Listeners are the community. The comedian already connected to the community. The journalist went to school, has the books, is in the library. He doesn't have the community. Now, the radio doesn't want you with the library. Remember, we said the library is a graveyard. So you with very sophisticated knowledge on journalism and with the library, but without the community, then you have no value. So the radios tend to pick now the comedians, because the comedians may not be having the library, but they have the community. They know what the community wants. And that's why the radio pays them more expensively, so that they bring the community. So we are beginning to see, for you to add your value as a researcher, as a scholar, please put the community on you. When you attach your community to you, that is what is going to be the game changer. And because I presume I looked at the survey for the attendees, and I see most of us are behavioral scientists. And the question I want to put across, again, I'll stop a bit. Patrick, I'm usually a very bad time manager. You'll tell me when I'm halfway, or when you prime me a bit, so that I'm not dwelling a lot on this. Is my time okay?
5 more minutes to go, and then we can go to the question segment, which will
Yes.
be by Daniela, who is here.
How many more minutes?
5 more minutes.
Yes. So then, for this question, I'll just bypass that. Can a psychologist consult in a marketing firm or in politics? What are the other settings that behavioral scientists are needed? Can we fit in transport, ICT, environment? So just challenging you to think beyond your own discipline. That was silo busting. And the next part that I look at is breaking institutional walls. We have said we need to move out of our universities mentally and physically. When we talk of open access, we should actually extend it to interaction between the academy and the community. Do not involve the community just when you are disseminating, because that's what researchers are fond of doing. We only go to the community when we want them to buy our research. But co-create right from the beginning. When you are co-creating objectives, co-create with the community. Involve the community in designing the research questions. And this will help you work with them in the entire research process. This will help you to set up very long-lasting engagements with the community. The next part is breaking research into toolkits. Now, this is the one way that we can make the library not a cemetery and to be now a birthplace. We can get to our work that we put in the library. Now, look at that work, find out what are the needs of the community in relation to that work, and begin to create small toolkits that now you can go back to the community. If you are doing research on parenting, you can break that and start going back to the community now to meet parents and to present your research to them. That's how we now immortalize the library. I will talk about self-branding. And in self-branding, there is a question we normally have at conferences when I meet people. They ask you, what is your research interest? And that's the question I want to ask you today. What is your research interest? So as a scholar, create a research identity and make it clearly known. I've said we go interdisciplinary, but make your research interest, be interdisciplinary, but have an area that we know you about. This is your best. This is the area that the need that you are solving for the community. That's what we are calling self-branding. Make it easy to be spotted. When policymakers are looking for people to consult, make it easy for them to spot you. And they cannot spot you when you are all over and solving no problem. You need to have an identity that you can be able to be spotted by the policymakers and the people who need your research. Now, communicate research beyond journals. And some of the things I'm going to suggest to you is diversify dissemination of research from traditional repositories. Yes, let your research go to journals, but as a researcher, create a TikTok account for your research. Go on X, do Instagram, podcasts, Facebook. Like what we are doing today is part of the podcasts process of ISSBD. And there is a whole community there that can understand your research in a language that is not regression analysis, correlation analysis. Take your research to social media. And the interest of that is that the social media, people will interact with you. People will ask questions. The library, nobody asks questions about your research. In the social media, you make your research to be live. Yeah, you may need support from media people to help you in that. And what I'm sharing, these are just part of my research spaces, my spaces on social media. Initially, I introduced myself as an indigenous knowledge researcher. So this is part of my work that I put on YouTube and Spotify. And that is also a newspaper cutting. So I engage also pushing my research into mainstream media in the newspapers. And through that, I've been able to do a lot of influence. Setting up, I'm on my second last point, setting up consultancies. So do not just finish or remain in the academy. While in the academy, also set up consultancies to carry your work outside and beyond the academy. You, as a scholar, make it your habit to have an organization around, and it doesn't have to be a very huge organization. Have active labs for mentoring young scholars. Reproduce other researchers. Don't just be in the academy you are teaching and marking. Make sure you are reproducing other scholars. You can go to the community as a scholar, carry out needs assessment, understand what does the community want, and then present your research work as a solution because the community wants that. Once you match your research with the needs of the community, that work will be valuable. Start immediate. So do not wait. Start with the immediate community. Do not travel to France if you are in Africa to solve a problem there. Jump outside the university wall. The group you find there, if it's a school, a children's home, and they can be consumers of your research, a church, go there and ask for possibility of giving a seminar on using the findings that you have in your research. Engage people, start changing lives with research like that. As you go back to your universities, jump the wall and start immediately outside. And my last point is monetization. How can we convert this to money? How can we convert our research or those engagements to money? So my point of view here is work first, then money later. Because many people miss out and start money first. They think money first, then work later, and it fails. Before I start putting a price on my services, I need to already have done provided services in the community. I've done needs assessment and found what does the society need. And in small ways, I start focusing on that need and not on income. By doing so, I'm creating demand for my research. I'm creating demand for what I do. Once now the community is used to my services, they see what I'm changing lives. Now I can strike later and price my work and start charging whoever I can charge. I can put the work I'm doing together and put to funders and ask them to fund this now as a community initiative. And by then I will make impact to the community. So I want to thank you for listening, and I want to hand over back to Patrick to lead us in the session for questions and answers.
Thank you so much, Steve, for sharing your knowledge and ideas about the secret society that we are trying to run away from. And at this point, I'd like to hand it over to Daniela, who would lead us to the next segment, which is a question and answer session. Yeah, so over to you, Daniela. You can take over and proceed on.
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you so much, Stephen. Wonderful talk. I enjoyed a lot, and I think there will be great questions and comments. So I open up the microphone. If someone wants to talk, maybe can raise their hand, and I give it the name. Otherwise, you can just ask, or if you feel more comfortable, you can write it in the chat, and I can read it out loud. Actually, I have a question, if that's possible, waiting for other people to get inspired. Your last part, you talk about the need assessment, and we learn more that theoretical part about the needs assessment. And maybe you can give us some hint about different ways to do it, or things that are less academic in the sense that normally there's very formal, or they follow some steps that sometimes is not very natural when you interact with the community. Can you give us some advice on that?
Thank you for that question. And it's good you have talked about not academic, because we really want to break the academy and get to the community. Sometimes the community doesn't understand the academic language. So one of the ways I would propose, I want to give a case of, say, a school. Maybe I am an educational psychologist, and my immediate community that I want to reach to is a school. So maybe I've done a research, and I want to understand how can this research be of use to the school. When I get to the school, I cannot just go and impose my research. And that's why I said at some point, we also need to engage the community in designing the studies, defining the objectives. When I go to school, I may not do a needs assessment that is on tablets and computers. My approach is, when I get to school, I would just normally get some papers. I make small papers and tear them into pieces, and I go to classes with, and I ask the children in the school through their teachers, if someone were to talk to you on a pressing matter, write down some of the pressing matters you have. So they'll just write down what is pressing them. Others will see they have a problem with the parents, authority, they have a problem with teachers. Then I collect all those papers. Those are papers I've collected from children or students. I collect and I go sit down and analyze to see what problems are facing the children. But before I leave the school, I can also go and ask for discipline records. Some schools have discipline records: who was suspended, who was expelled, who is making noise. So I also access those records. It can be able to give me a rough idea of what is school A struggling with. Once I have those problems, now that defines the needs of that school. Now then I can respond. I can now begin. If it's an issue with adolescents are struggling with authority, with their parents or teachers, then, and my research is on parenting, now I can bring in my research to match there. So you don't have to do a sophisticated needs assessment. That is the simplest thing. Even when you go and live with people, just observing. When you go to a school for 1 hour and observe, you'll be able to pick what the common struggles in that particular school. So that's how I would approach it, Daniela.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we have plenty of questions. We have two people that raised their hand. I think we can start with Pam. Thank you. And then Samson. And then I'm going to read you 2 questions that are in the chat.
Yes, thank you so much, Stephen, for such an excellent presentation. And you really touched some really sensitive topics that we struggle with in the academy. I'm a member of the academy, and as you know, you're a colleague of mine, and we've worked together in many things. Now, I don't know if this is a comment, and then I just want to indulge us in some suggestions you can give us on how to approach this. So, for example, being a Kenyan like you, there are sometimes in our institutions, the academic faculty is just overwhelmed by how many courses they are asked to take, how many official administrative responsibilities they are asked to take. And I know of colleagues who've just thrown up their hands and given up. They can barely survive by just, getting to the end of the month and getting their paycheck. They can't do anything else aside. So really, what you're suggesting to us is really important. We should leave a mark, and we should try to find ways of breaking that fence of the academy and moving into our communities. But what advice can you give about work-life balance in such a situation?
Yeah, good question, Dr. Pam. And yeah, what you are describing, it's a problem I also experience. And sometimes we normally joke with my colleagues, if you are a chair of a department or a dean, or it's one of they always warn you, if you become a chair of department, that's another deathbed. You will not publish, you will not do anything. And the structure of our universities, they actually push us in that direction. They'll give you workload, they expect to mark. They never ask about research and what. But for me, first, one of the things that has helped me to balance academia and not to mess my boss by not teaching, by not doing what they are saying, and also doing my own growth is I always stretch out. When I finished my classes, I've done some works on publications. My record is good. Writing grants, my record is good. I've done this outside, like even the weekends when I'm not at the university. I struggle, write a grant and succeed, get this grant. There's a question also funding for what we are saying we do. So if we don't get out ourselves and even try to look for funds, the universities will tell you they have no budget for you to go to the community. So you'll end up still being in the cycle that I talked about. But when you do some sacrifice, stretch out a bit. At some point, I actually look at it as the opposite of work-life balance. In mental health, we are telling you balance work and life, but sometimes as an early career scholar, I would push myself to go a bit, to stretch more. Because when I do that, then I'm putting my foot in grants, I'm putting my foot in the publication. Now, one of the things that I've noticed with our universities, once they know you are a researcher, you can bring grants, now they start listening to you. And once I knew that's how to disarm them, that's what I try to do. Now, at the moment when I know I have a grant, now I can negotiate with the university. Please give me less workload because I have brought you money. That's a political process, but I think it works for me. So do not remain in the academy by the pressures you are given by the employer. And I know the question Pam is asking. Pam is one of the people that I've also looked up to in this country. I think she's so much ahead in the field that in the things that we are talking about. You do a lot of grants, you do a lot of travels, but you still manage your work at the university. So where it needs politics, please do. And politics, not politics of that nature, but knowing who can I talk to in the university. Can I align with the vice chancellor and show them the importance of research, the importance of doing publication? How does my research benefit the university in terms of visibility? When we got that political wing, sometimes you'll convince them. And Daniela, there's someone who asked this question on the government has opposed their research. I wanted to open it before we get another, and I wanted to open to respond to that. Like, do we have any colleague who can help this colleague? I think it was Caroline, that like they have done a good research, but the government has stopped. He's saying like, they want to change to introduce multiple languages in the instruction system, but the government does not want it. It has actually stopped them. And she's feeling her research is not progressing.
Yes.
Who can help her to unblock that?
So actually, it's the government, so the Ministry of Education of Côte d'Ivoire decided instead of 10 languages, they want to do only one language, which is Jula.
That is our local language?
Yes.
I see that as success. Already, that's breakthrough, one language. They may not accept all the languages at some point, but that's already a mark. I see like you're already helping. But I wanted to, if there is anybody, if there's nobody, then I'll share my perspective on that again. Anybody who would help her to unlock that. But from the other information she has added, it seems it is working actually. The government is giving in. They may give in the second language, they may take it up after 20 years, but that is an impact, I would still say.
Personally, I would like to say something, Steve. Yeah, I tend to believe that is an initial step. The government might not uptake whatever we do immediately, but it should continue. Like the current research that you did, you gave some recommendation. I think you should just continue doing more research on the same and giving the recommendation. It starts from somewhere, and then with time, it will be an outcry, because after the people getting to know what you are doing, others will also uptake what you are doing, continuing with research. And if like 100 people from the same country are saying the same, why can't we do this? Why can't we do this? I think something can be done. So it's not about stopping and thinking that it's a waste. It's not yet a waste. Continue. The recommendation you made, make a next step in the same research. Allow people to read what you have done so that others can also do the same research. Even the students in your school, they can also continue. And I think something will be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lillian. Back to you, Daniela.
Yes, I'm so sorry that we're running out of time, but I have a solution. So Samson had the hand raised for a while, so maybe we can end with that questions. And please, if that's possible, Stephen, can they email you the other questions that they have, or we can find another way to make it possible to get those answers? Because for protocol,
Yes,
we
they
need
can
to end
email.
up. So thank you so much. So we will finish with Samson. Are you there? So you can ask your questions and we can keep in communication with Dr. Stephen by email.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good
Yeah,
afternoon.
yeah, I just have the first thing is to plead that the PowerPoint can be shared to us. And then the main one I want to say is personally I find the lecture very interesting and the ideas he built in it. So I'm asking if it's possible to build this into a kind of mentorship scheme so that it's not a lecture that you can just have one off and then go. So if it can be something regular and there's a mentorship so that the early career amongst us, like me, will get more trained with it. Thank you.
Thank you. That is noted. I will be able to share the PowerPoints, and Daniela and Patrick will be able to share out. And yes, I pick your suggestion at our level with Patrick and Daniela and the other leadership of ISSBD. We can be able to think about it. I know Dr. Pamela is there, Lillian. These are some of the leaders of ISSBD we have. So what he is raising is quite good to be uptaken and looked into and see how can we create more mentorship for early careers. So thank you so much for listening. Back to you, Daniela.
Yeah, thank you so much. And as Dr. Stephen said, we are trying to find other ways to communicate to each other, and these webinars are one part of that. So thank you so much again for your wonderful talk. I enjoyed it a lot. I think a lot of people the same. And you had the email, so you can email him or you can contact us if you have any further questions. It's taped, so it's recorded. So if you want to share it with other people that couldn't attend today, please do that. And again, thank you so much to everyone, especially to our guest that today was even more wonderful than other times. So thank you so much and have a good day.